it's Addie, and welcome to Peace of Mind Planning. I'm an estate planning lawyer, and among other things, I help busy parents in Louisiana to plan for their life and legacy through estate planning without overwhelm, confusion, or all that legal jargon. I myself am the parent of two young boys, ages 3 and 5, so things are very loud in my household generally, and I live in New Orleans with my husband. So I see we got a couple people joining us live, so let me know where you're watching from, and if you're watching the replay, go ahead and drop a comment too. I'd love to know where people are tuning in so I can talk to you about college football probably. But so today I wanted to go ahead and talk to you about a question that people often ask. It is there a death tax? And what most people mean really is the federal estate tax. There's nothing in the Internal Revenue Code that says here is the death tax. But when people die with money over a certain threshold, then they are subject to tax at 40%. That threshold right now is super high. It's $11.7 million per person. So if you're a married couple, you basically can have up to $23.4 million of property assets between the two of you before any estate tax is imposed. So, I mean, as you can tell, these numbers to me at least seem kind of astronomical. I certainly hope and wish that someday I would have that concern. But, last year, I think just over 0.2% of the population paid the estate tax. But it wasn't always this way. In fact, when I was in law school, the threshold was only $600,000. I remember my Professor Kalinka, rest in peace, talking about how, people working from Exxon would have $600,000 in Exxon stock and they had estate tax concerns. So it hasn't always been this way. I think a lot of people, myself included, think that it will go down. And in fact, at the end of December, on December 31st, 2025, so starting in 2026, those numbers will go down, but they're still pretty high. It's going to be $5 million per person indexed for inflation. So probably $6 million per person, $12 million per couple. But like I said before, this is a tax that applies when you die. So if you're like me, you're like, if it's when you die, why not just give it away while you're alive? But obviously the IRS is onto that. So there is also a gift tax, and the estate tax and the gift tax complement each other. It's called a unified tax system. But basically you have that threshold, whatever it is at the time, the time you give the gift or the time you die. Right now we said $11.7 million, and you can give gifts of up to $11.7 million over the course of your lifetime before any gift tax is imposed. But sort of an interesting thing is that when you give any gift, potentially there is a gift tax filing obligation owed. So, however, there's what we call an annual exclusion. So if you give a gift of $15,000 or less, you don't have to file a gift tax return. So, the common scenario people say is, the check grandma gives you for $1,000 at Christmas, that you don't have to file a gift tax return to that. And this annual exclusion of $15,000 that we've talked about, you can do it for several people. So, if you give $15,000 to 2 kids, to 2 nieces, to 2 nephews, to 2 whatever, you can give that $15,000 over and over. So that's quite frankly a really, a good way that we plan when there are estate tax or gift tax concerns to kind of get things out of people's estates. But just because you give a gift of over that amount doesn't mean that the gift tax is it. So let me give you the example. Parents want to help their child with a down payment for a house. They're going to give them $50,000 for this down payment. Well, obviously that's more than the $15,000 that we've talked about, but it's certainly less than the $11.7 million lifetime exclusion. So even though a gift tax would be due for that gift because it was more than the $15,000 threshold, there would be no a gift tax. Let me try that again. A gift tax return would be due. There'd be no actual gift tax made. So you're basically filing a zero gift tax return. So that's kind of a little complicated, but can be a wrinkle when you're thinking about doing large gifts or doing donations. That's something people frequently ask about. And the final thing I just wanted to mention was everything I've talked about today involves the federal estate tax. Now, each state could also impose its own estate tax. Louisiana has not done so. I think when I first started practice, there was an inheritance tax, but it was, it's real only owed in certain circumstances, but they've done away with that entirely. You don't even have to worry about that if you're in Louisiana. But there are certain states that do have an estate tax, and usually the state estate tax exemption amount. My 3-year-old's in speech therapy. I'd like to see him try and say that, is a lot less than the $11.7 million. So it might be 1 million or 2 million or 3.5 million. Just depends on the state and what those are. But obviously, it's not as high as that 40% tax rate, but there's still a great deal of planning that can go on if you live in a state that imposes a state estate tax. So I think that's everything I wanted to talk to you about today. I know this is just barely scratched the surface of, federal estate tax and gift tax, but I thought it was a good place to start because you have to have sort of a base to even, go anywhere from here. So if you have any questions about this episode, please let me know. If you have any questions or topics that you're interested in, let me know. Leave it in the comments, shoot me an email. However you want to reach out is totally fine. And the last thing is, if you like what you're seeing, please follow, share, let people know. I'm trying to grow this thing and get the information out to as many people as I can. But most importantly, keep on tuning in, keep checking out the replay if you can't catch the live video. Remember, we're doing this, I'm doing this every other week. So 2 weeks from now, I'll be joining you again, Peace of Mind Planning. And here's my website. If I can get this to work for me. Here's my website with the direct link to the Peace of Mind Planning, and it has all the places where the videos would be if you're a YouTube person or SoundCloud or LinkedIn, however you want, you can kind of access those videos there. So that's all I had for you today. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you in 2 weeks. All right, take care. Bye.